We're ready.
It's starting.
Something into that.
He did a laptop.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody this afternoon to our regular board meeting. If Heather could call the roll, please.
Director Peavy,
Here.
Assistant Mayor Teeters,
Here.
Director Harris,
Here.
Director Hollabush,
Here.
Director Brewer,
Here.
Director Minor,
Here.
Mayor Brown,
Here. Okay. Today on our, we have our first item is a presentation, budget variance report given by Finance Director Tyrone Henderson.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, Board Directors, and Assistant City Manager Heather Sawyers. This afternoon, I'll present the budget variance report for January through March of 2020. The delay in the report is actually the receipt of the sales tax and property tax revenue, as there's always a 2-month delay in those revenue sources. By the end of the first quarter, revenue should be around 25%. If you will notice, general property taxes, sales taxes, franchise receipts, licenses and permits, fines and forfeitures, grant revenue, and the animal shelter are all around 25% or above. From other governments is at 11%. And this is low due to a one-time deposit of $777,000 for state insurance turnback. We usually receive this around July, August timeframe. You will notice that grant revenue is extremely high at 79%. This is high due to grant received, the training grant received that was not previously budgeted. Other revenue is low, it's around 13%. This is due to the TW transfers. I've spoke to Jim about this and he's working on getting these corrected. Interfund revenue is about 19%. This is low due to the USM revenue that is no longer being received, but our expenditures are also low based upon not holding those inmates. If you will notice, our total revenues budget is about 19.5 million. The percentage of the budget received is right around 24%. So our revenues are right on track for where they should be this time of year. As far as our expenditures, all our departments are either at 25% or less. The only two that are more than that are the JAG grant expenditures, and that just has to do to the receipt of the grant and also the school violence grant. This is a grant that we received this year that was not previously budgeted. Animal shelter expenses are extremely low, but this is due to the delay on the building of the new animal shelter. Are there any questions? Thank you.
I guess
Yes.
one question. Have you been affected by the COVID issue yet? And so how much?
Well, it's a little soon to tell because these revenues are through March. And COVID-19 hit us pretty hard during mid-March and April. So it will be toward the end of about the middle of August before I can really give you a good and true estimate. But based upon our A&P collections, which are received a little earlier, we might see a 4% shortfall in
All right,
sales
thank you.
tax revenue. That's where we'll get the major hits.
That's all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions for Tyronda?
No, sir.
Okay. If not, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Item number 2 on the consent agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular scheduled meeting on June 1st. What
Hey,
is the
Mayor.
desire? of the consent agenda?
Mayor,
Yes.
I don't know if you, I want that taken off. I had sent Heather some information about the minutes, so.
Okay. All right. Director Harris has requested that the item number 2 be removed from the consent agenda. So at this time, we'll move into Director Harris to address the minutes.
Well, I had made, I guess more than 2 or 3 line statements. So what I did, I sent Heather, I guess the other day, a copy of the statement that I read and also the statement I read on George Floyd. And I thought maybe my statement could be added into the minute. I did send something about update of the documents, but I didn't notice that my statement was included in the minutes. And so I'm trying to find out if it wasn't included in the minutes, why it shouldn't be. I
Heather,
guess
is there a reason we did not attach that statement to the minutes?
Usually, in the past, statements have been attached, but since now the minutes are more streamlined, that we're only taking the actions of the board in the minutes.
So Director Harris, are you asking that those statements be attached to these minutes?
yes, I thought that's why I sent them to her, but
So
I
at this
emailed
time,
to her. I emailed her a copy of the statements that I read, and I emailed it to her, George, and the city manager at the same time. So
George, is George on?
I am.
So what would the procedure be, the technical procedure to have these items become attached and be a permanent part of the record? What action would the board have to take?
I would think that Director Harris can make a motion to have that, the minutes as presented amended, and then adopted. Otherwise, the board, if there was no second, would move forward with the minutes as presented by the clerk.
Okay. Director Harris, do you wish to make that motion?
Mayor,
I will, but
Yes.
what?
excuse me, could we have, Heather, could we have that read back, what he emailed to you, please, before we?
Just one moment. This is from Director Harris, dated Friday, June 12th at 1:45 p.m. To Heather Sawyer, I'm attaching the letter I read and gave reference to and read my statement of George Floyd. I believe that one meeting, the mayor suggests you attach my statement. City minutes. Citizen communication. Director Harris said he received a letter from the National League of Cities related to the above resolution number 2020-17. He said he wrote a letter to Arkansas Representative Bruce Westerman, Senator Tom Cotton, and Senator John Boozman, calling for direct funding to local governments because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Director Harris also said he supported peaceful protests in support of George Floyd. Laney Harris statement during citizen communication. Dear Representative Westerman, Senator Boozman, and Senator Cotton, A's a municipal leader and a constituent. I am writing on behalf of my community to urge you to support local governments in the next round of federal assistance in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Communities like mine are taking extraordinary measures to protect our residents' health and safety, including continuing essential services. Unfortunately, the fiscal consequences of COVID-19 are unprecedented and unbudgeted. The lost revenue to our local economy cannot be fully recouped through the local tax base. Without a relief lifeline to safely reopen our local economy, Texarkana will have to make cuts to essential services and lay off local workers, including public work, including environmental maintain, street and park department, and others such as police and fire who keep our communities safe and moving forward during this difficult time. We thank you for your efforts to provide immediate relief through the prior federal relief packages and ask you to advocate to Congress for our community to receive the funding support that we need for essential services. I ask for your support for direct relief in the next package to protect the members of our communities who help protect us. Specifically, I'm asking for your support of legislation that includes $500 billion over 2 years of federal aid for local governments, fair and direct funding allocations to each and every local government with no exclusions based on population, equal funding overall for municipal governments and county governments. This is not a request for a handout nor a call for federal bailout. This is the extension of our intergovernmental partnership, a critical local federal bond that we seek in order to reopen and restore the economic health of our great nation. We do not want America to survive, but thrive. I urge you to include the support above priorities in the next bill. Our community and nation depend upon it. Sincerely, Laney Harris, City Ward Director, excuse me, Texarkana, Arkansas.
All
And
right.
it goes on.
One more question. Do you put in the minutes, comments made by citizens during citizens communication, Heather?
I put their basic description of the comments, but not verbatim.
Okay.
He has more on here for George Floyd. It states, I understand the civil unrest and the death of George Floyd. I totally support peaceful protests across the nation and that all person involved shall be accountability for their action. And furthermore, community leaders in every cities or town shall advocate against anti-racist principles in every act out work. And that is what I received from Director Harris.
So Director Harris, there's not any other questions. Director Harris, you wish to make a motion to have these statements attached to these minutes?
I go ahead and do it. What point? I move that the statement be presented and added to the agenda and as in civil communication time. That's my statement that was emailed to Heather.
You've heard Director Harris's motion. Is there a second?
Director Brewer, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to have these corrections made to the minutes. Is there any other discussion? If not, could you call the roll, please?
Director Peavy,
Yes.
Director Teeters,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollabush,
Yes.
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Minor,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. So those statements will be attached to the minute. Moving right along to there's not any items on our regular agenda. Heather, have we been notified by anyone that wishes to address the board during citizens communication time?
No, sir.
Okay. At this time, is there any other comments from the board?
Mayor, I have a comment. Brewer,
Yes.
please.
Yes.
No, with the second COVID that's coming through, are there any new guidelines with the openings of the parks? Everything's just going to continue as follows, or is there any new guidelines?
Okay. At this time, I'm not aware of any guidelines as far as the state directives, as far as there is, as it pertains to state parks, those types of entities that are owned by state agencies. The community parks have pretty much been at it's Kenny's discretion as city manager, and certainly gets information from me. We get information from the Arkansas Department of Health as to what we should do with those parks. That's where that instructions have come from in the past. We have not, to my knowledge, Kenny has not said anything to me about a move to reopen those, mainly the playground equipments. Those things that are for personal interaction are still what's remain closed right now. The walking trails, the fishing, those types of things have been open, but there's not been any discussion at this time. We can certainly talk to Kenny about it after this meeting, but there's not been any discussion, to my knowledge, in the reopening of those playground equipment type things at those parks at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor, this is Director Peavy. I would like to address this to Tyranda and just say that we appreciate you, Tyranda, as our financial director. And I think that those numbers for the next quarter are going to be very telling for our city, and not just our city alone, for every city across America. And that's going to dictate how much we need to be spending or not be spending. And I know you all are very curious and to see just how those numbers are going to be coming in.
Thank you. And if you all would like for me to give this presentation monthly until this is for a little while, just so you stay aware of what's going on, if you all will just let Kenny know, and that way he gives me proper direction, I will do whatever is the wishes of the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate those comments as well. And I think the good part about staying on top of this is certainly our reduction is not going to be what most people thought it was going to be in the beginning, but we do know that reduction in income is coming. And I do appreciate the city staying on top of this. And we as directors need to be cognizant of that and start planning for the future as this revenue does continue to decrease. But thank goodness it's not going to be as low as what the projections were made early on. Any other comments? Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. One quick note, I'm assuming everybody got the information that our next meeting on July the 6th will be by Zoom. Our first in-person meeting right now, which would be subject to change, and speaking with Kenny this morning, would be July the 20th, where we will exercise social distancing and those types of things in the boardroom. But right now, our meeting schedule, next meeting for July the 6th will be by Zoom. Okay. Having said that, I hear a motion to adjourn.
Ulysses Brewer.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Heather, could you call the roll, please?
Director Peavy,
Yes.
Director Teeters,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollabush,
Yes.
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Minor,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. So we're adjourned. We'll see you guys next meeting.
All right.
All right.